Hey, welcome to Real Talk. This is Wes, the director. Check it out. What happens when a bold, original, daring film dares to challenge Hollywood? The Hollywood machine, that is. Today on Real Talk, we're going to be talking about Ryan Coogler's Sinners, a supernatural southern horror flick that might just challenge the core of the studios, or at least challenge them to their core, right? From vampires to racial trauma to dual roles and daring direction. This is the blueprint, or is it the new blueprint of filmmaking? Let's talk about it. Real Talk is on the other side. Let's get it.
Real Talk.
Hey, I'm Gina Lou, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's up? It's Logan Browning, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Real Talk.
Hi, this is Alana De La Garza, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, I'm Diane Franklin from Better Off Dead and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. You're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, this is Monique Dupree, and you are watching Real Talk with the Director on Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, I'm Stormy Maya, and you are listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
This is Vicky Judy. Orange is the new black, and I'm here with Real Talk.
Yo, what up? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio. Keep it locked.
Hi, I'm Frida Parks. You are listening to Real Talk Radio with the Director. Hey, I'm Issa Rae, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Nothing more, nothing less. There's my audio. What's going on, people? Sorry about technical difficulties. Welcome back to Real Talk with the Jedi Council and the Director. I'm the Director. Be with you for the next 60 minutes or so. Real Talk's brought to you each and every Monday by B2S, or Friday by B2S Media. We broadcast live via the World Wide Web on YouTube.com/IE Network TV. So this week, what happens when a bold, original film dares to challenge the Hollywood machine? Today, we're going to talk about and unpack Ryan Coogler's Sinners. No real spoilers or anything like that, but we are going to talk about it. This is a supernatural southern horror film that might just shake the industry to its core after the deal that Ryan Coogler has secured. So from vampires to racial trauma to dual roles, daring direction. Yeah, is this the new blueprint of or the future of filmmaking? Let's see. Let's unpack it and check it out. We welcome you back to Real Talk again. So, my Jedi Council should be joining me soon, and we're going to go from there. But until then, we will go to our weekend recap brought to you by BoxOfficeMojo.com for the weekend of April 18th through the 20th. That is Easter weekend, right? And for all of those who celebrate, happy Easter to you guys. Hope you had an enjoyable one. Number 5 on the list is Warfare, made $4.9 million. Then number 4 is The Amateur, made like $7 million, bringing it to a worldwide total of $63 million. Number 3 is The King of Kings. That's the animated film, The King of Kings, right? Made $17.6 million. Okay. It should have made more than that. It is actually Easter week. But it's all good. That made $17.6 million, bringing the worldwide total of $48 million. That is Angel Studios that released that. There's something special, because they really get, these faith-based movies, and, not all faith-based, and they're not preachy, but they're solid positive films, and that studio kind of does it on their own. It's a nice little system that they got there. So big up to Angel Studios. Um, Number two, a Minecraft movie made another 40.5 million over the weekend. That right now is closing in on our belly. Before you know it, it will be. It's at $717 million worldwide. The Minecraft movie is just kicking butt right now. Warner Brothers. Okay. Speaking of Warner Brothers, the number one movie of this weekend, it's opening weekend at $48 million domestic with a $63 million, $63.5 million worldwide. That is the topic of today. One of our topics of today, Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan and a host of others. So that's the number one film. It just came out. It just released April 18th. So in a few days, it made in 3 days in release, it's made more than half of its budget back. So good job there. It's been obviously the talk of the weekend. It's been the talk of the last month. Everyone's been, it was well anticipated, and it lived up to the hype. I mean, people are loving this film. It's probably one of the first films I've seen in a while to get. I mean, well, Ryan Coogler always does. He is a good. I call him he's the master of the tomato. He's the tomato master. That guy. All his films have been rated pretty high on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that I'm really big on looking at Rotten Tomatoes, but most of his films are 85 and above on Rotten Tomatoes, or all of them have been that he's put out from Fruitvale Station on. Actually, his lowest is Wakanda Forever at like 86, 87%, something like that. Everything else is in the 90s. And this one is sitting at 98% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes based on almost like it's 200 and something, maybe 300 reviews. And on the it's like higher than that, I think, with that's the critic score, but it's probably higher than that with the fans. So yeah, man, it's doing its thing. Shout out to the chat room. Good to see y'all. Thanks for coming in. Shout out to everybody over there on Facebook and over here in Instagram Live, which right now ain't really jumping, but people come in, people come out, and hopefully you guys come through and check us out. But yeah, man, this is a few talking points we're going to talk about on this film. First, I'll just start off, and since I'm waiting on the Jedi Council to join me, I'll start off by saying, obviously, I saw the film. I really enjoyed, more than just enjoyed it. I thought it was masterfully done. It was cinematic, beautiful cinematically. It was very well written. Ryan Coogler, good job him. The performances were really solid, and I have to go higher than solid when it comes to Michael B. Jordan. He is stepping up his game. He's stepping it up. Playing these two roles could not have been easy. I'm actually currently in production or pre-production right now for a film that's not similar, but my actor, I have to direct this actress. She is playing two roles, just like Michael B. Jordan. had to do. Now, I'm not blessed with the budget that the $90 million budget. I ain't pocket watching either. Good job, to secure that kind of money for a horror genre film. Um, but yeah, man, it's tough. Prepare for it. It's not easy to shoot those type of things. So big up to Michael B. Jordan, man. I know it's not easy to actually build two characters and make them stand out and be different from each other, but yet have to be kind of the same because they're identical twins. So anyhow, I watched the film in IMAX. Everyone should see this film in IMAX. You are really depriving yourself if you do not see it in IMAX, but everyone should see this film in IMAX. It's a great experience, especially in the third act when everything starts to kick off. So I think it was, it was a great film. Great film. So one of the things we do want to talk about is the rise and the risk of original IP. We'll talk a little bit about that in a franchise obsessed era, right? We'll talk about genre blending, something that was done in this film. It was something that was done in this film. Genre blend. What's your thoughts on that? How you feeling about it? Horror meets history in this one in particular. And we'll also probably come back around and touch on the star power, the storytelling, and future of representation. Right? I mean, let's be honest. The significance of Michael B. Jordan's dual role, the breakout performance from Miles Kenton, Coogler's continued push of authentic Black storytelling, right? That all makes a difference in my mind. Makes a difference. So definitely we'll take your comments, drop some comments in the chat room. If you're on Facebook, you can just drop a comment in there. Boom. We'll take them and we'll read them. What's up? Coco says, I really enjoyed the movie. The genres mixed well. I feel they could have made this history of that time, racism, horror too. Okay. Could have made this history. Yeah. It was very, thank you for that. Thank you for your comment. Yeah, I think they could have did more with it, but I want to believe, and I'm gonna try to base most of my answers non-spoilery because it's still early, but get out and see the film, people. Because if we talk about it next week, we doing spoilers. But I believe this film was written the way it was written, definitely with a purpose. There's a lot of story there that Ryan can still dig into, believe it or not. Yeah, this history to make this history of that time. Yeah, racism. Yep. Horror too. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Coco. Thanks for that comment. But yeah, man, this the way there's a lot of story they can really go further with. They can go back, they could go forward, they could go present time. They could do a lot with the going forward, but sticking with this film itself, the importance of Ryan Coogler being able to push authentic Black storytelling, I think that means a lot. That means damn a lot, you know. So that's definitely something that we want to talk about. See where my counselor at. Get them in here. Also, another point, good point. What are you guys thinking about? Y'all could drop out. We also put a poll in here. You guys take the poll if you come into the chat room. It's basically a very simple poll. It just says, how would you rate the film? Was it a 10? Was it an 8 or better? Was it a solid film? Was it below 5? Yeah. Let me know what y'all think. But what did you guys think about Miles Caton? I'm saying Canton. I always say Canton because I know somebody with that last name, but I believe it's pronounced Caton. Miles Caton, his breakout performance. He said in an interview he wasn't even sure if he'd be able to do the role, and he's not an actor like that. But I tell you, I guess maybe it's a little not as hard as he thought to act scared because they were definitely looking scared in this film. I thought he did a great job. I mean, it was perfectly written. I give a lot of credit to Ryan Coogler in the writing because the character, being so musical and stuff like that, and using this young man's actual voice. Everyone who was in this, who sang, that was their voice. They were singing. Everyone. So the actors were really in on this, and I think it was smart to write the role like he did. It probably eased up a little bit on the pressure of the acting, one would think. Most new actors, when you think about it, whether you're a rapper, a singer, or what have you, and you're getting into acting, you're not like, you didn't come in like as a bona fide actor, right? Most of the time, you take a role or a role is written for them that's not far from their original or personality, right? So, Ice Cube comes in Boys in the Hood, and he was Ice Cube. Yeah, it's like Ice Cube from the WA, just shooting people instead of rapping about shooting people, he was actually shooting people. So, um, I thought, you can save a lot in your story if you place people the right way, placing characters on people and having the right cast is ultra important when you're putting something together that's an original idea, that's putting that together. So I think, so the studios, let's talk a little bit about the rise and the risk of original IP, right? In the franchise obsessed era. The studios, as we all know, they are heavily leaning and too heavily leaning on the safe bets, right? Marvel, DC remakes, you know, but I believe Sinners proves audiences crave original or originality when it's executed properly. Now, we don't want no crap. This isn't, just any old, and I'm not trying to rack on Tubi because I got stuff on Tubi. So I'm not saying, to downgrade Tubi or anything like that. But I'm saying this isn't like some any old producer dropping anything on Tubi or any of these places, right? We want it executed well. We want original story. Why do you think the Tubi community, as they call it, has so many supporters? Audiences are craving original ideas and stories. That's why, the streaming world, Tubi, some of these upcoming streaming platforms, some of these lower streaming platforms that, they're not, other than Netflix and Amazon, which is pretty much considered a studio now. They're like in with the studios. And you got HBO Max, which is, they partner with Warner Brothers and studios, and so they're studios, right? Peacock is NBC, that's a studio. So the majors are backed by studios. The only ones that came in the game not a studio is Netflix, Amazon Prime, Amazon Studios, but they're considered that now. So other than them, people watch these other upcoming or whatever lower tier uh, streaming services. Why? Instead of going and experiencing a film. Well, basically the answer is right there, because they want something that's original but executed well. This film could I don't know if this film could have been executed any better than what it was, based on the subject matter and everything like that. I don't know if could be executed any better. I mean, he obviously it's his story, so he's gonna execute it the way he wants. But I think the film was executed properly, and as you can see, the critics as well as the fans are loving almost everything about this film. It hasn't really gotten any bad reviews. I mean, what's a bad review? Saying that it's an 8 out of 10? That's not a bad review, but that seems like the type of stuff that they're getting. It's like it's a lot, man. I mean, I don't think people have really understood how much, how successful this film is, seems to be, or it seems, if it is, and it may continue to be. Even really quick, I don't usually mess with Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that, but just to give y'all an idea, one of the top critics says it's both a widely ambitious meditation on American history and rip roaring good time. And a rip roaring good time. Notice keyword she used, American history, right? It's not Black history, because as we know, Black history is American history, right? So that was just one of the top critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Another one here says, this is funny. He says, Sinners doesn't just sing, it also bites. Pretty funny. One of the most creative vampire movies of all time. These are, and I'm just sitting here like, I can't believe it, because I mean, Rotten Tomatoes they be hating on stuff, man. They hate a lot. But like I said, Ryan Coogler he is like a tomato master. He's I think Ryan Coogler's like I said, his lowest tomato rating is like 87 or something like that. Audiences says Ryan Coogler has not only delivered a deliciously vicious vampire hit, but an unapologetically Black genre knockout ablaze with a killer cast and a cranked up score. Very cool. That's one of the critics, might be an audience critic. Here's another one. I'll say, what an amazing movie. The visuals, the music, the dance, The overall message, outstanding first class movie. Think I'll even go back and see it a second time. Well, that's something I'm definitely doing because that's what I do. Not only do I support films, I see it films at least two times. One for entertainment and one for education. Obviously, being a filmmaker, my second goal is pure education. I'm looking at shots. I saw a couple of wonders in there, especially that one where the camera goes from uh I think across the street from the grocery store to the other store. They did a oneer, which in people who don't know what that term means, a oneer is a one take shot where the camera is constantly moving and it never cuts away. So it follows you, whether it's on a dolly, whether it's on a, whatever, a steady cam, the camera follows the action and never cuts away. That is what we refer to as a oneer, right? I saw a couple of those, but that one that stood out was the one not early in the film. Um so and Koga says I wasn't even interested in this movie until I seen Ryan doing a video explaining the cool ways it was shot. Yeah, that was I've been sending that video all over the people, Coco. Um Maybe I'll send it to you. No, I'm joking. But I was sending that to a lot of people. You have to promote something different for people to spend money. I agree, 100%. You have to promote stuff different. As I bring, um, thanks Coco for that comment. Yeah, you do. I think Ryan Coogler going around promoting how many different ways you can watch this film was an asset for him to do that because it was, first of all, it was super interesting. He broke down the different formats. And for the people who may not have seen it yet, it's all over. And that's another thing I want to talk about. The rollout for this film was just amazing. The promotional tour they went on was, I mean, it took me back to the old school. It was an old school vibe of going to the talk shows and this, but then they added in and they did digital, they did podcasts, they did video shows like this. Didn't do this one. Well, that's a whole nother thing. But shows like this one they did, right? So um that's another part of the conversation. But yeah, I agree. That's cool that you weren't interested in seeing the movie, but you see Ryan Coogler talking about all the cool ways that they shot the film, explaining how cool it was and how you can watch it in a lot of different ways. So that sparks your attention, as you kind of, I'm assuming. And now you went to see the movie and you enjoyed the movie. Perfect. Mission accomplished, right? He let people know. And that's what I loved about that video. He was not only, for people like us who are filmmakers, he took us to school real quick. He was showing, talk about different preparations on film and the wideness of it and the sizes of the film and the formats. And at the same time, he uh kept it where people who are not in the film industry could still understand what he's talking about and get you excited about how you could see this film, on IMAX, on 40X, on, Dolby Surround Digital or whatever, all the different formats.
17 millimeter.
So yeah, all of the different formats that he was talking about, because there's different IMAX theaters have different formats as well. And he even listed, he put a list of the different theaters. If you see him in the special, like the Roars format, that how it was shot, there's only like a few theaters in the country that you could actually go see it like that. But he pointed all that out which is obviously part of his major game plan, right? So, um, what I was Kev, what I was gonna talk, I had a couple of talking points. The first one is the rise and risk of original IP in a franchise obsessed era, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, um, Sinners is kind of like trying to reshape or break the mold by not relying on existing IP
IP
franchises,
and doing
right? Right.
original content.
Sequels or reboots, right? Now, yeah, possibly could this become a franchise? That's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Ain't
of course.
possible. No. It ain't not possible.
No,
It's
it's
absolutely
happening.
will be.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. But that's okay because it's based on
Original.
original IP. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's the point. It's
studios.
not existing IP.
Right.
It's not something that was made by someone else. This is
Yeah.
black created, black owned, black ran. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a sprinkle of some salt in there, to
Yeah.
help get things
Right.
going. 'Cause you got to have, you got to have equity and inclusion,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
diversity. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it's an original thought. It comes from an original idea, which is why I
Right.
think it took him so long to really put this together because he had to really pitch to get this thing
Mhm.
going. I'm pretty sure you elaborated on that part already.
Yeah. The funny thing is, yeah, it took him, to write it. I think I saw Ryan Coogler in a interview on the Breakfast Club where he talked about this was like when he was doing Wakanda Forever or one of the Black Panther films. He was here in Georgia, and he was driving, and he passed a cotton field, and he stopped. He pulled over in his car, and he got out, and he kind of like walked over to it, and he said it's the first time he's ever seen a cotton field in his life, and he said something came over him, and he actually felt an overwhelming feeling of, he said, of guilt, right? And he just, it just, I guess it did something to him. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I was driving in South Carolina. That was the first time I ever saw a cotton field. I was traveling from Florida to New York, and I'm driving through South Carolina, and I see a cotton field. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a cotton field, right? So I pulled over. I did. That's why when I saw him that he said that, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. I pulled over. I got out. I looked, and I was just like, wow, that's. I didn't know what to think. Like nothing came over me. Like I didn't have the moment that he had, but I did kind of just like, wow, this is wild. You can't pass a cotton field and not think about what it stands for, right?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I can tell you what it stands for because I worked in the cotton field. When we went on vacations to two places during the
Mhm.
summertime out of school. We either went to Memphis or we went to Georgia, where my mother's from. She's from
Right,
Forsyth, Georgia,
right.
and some of my family members still own some land, but also still worked in some of those fields. And
Mm,
that's what we did during the summer. We worked in a field picking beans.
mm.
I should say I and my cousins because my sister was too small to go.
Okay.
Um, we worked in the field picking beans.
Hmm.
My other cousins picked cotton. I never went out in the field and picked
Sure.
cotton because they
Right.
told me I was too young and I
Hmm.
would hurt myself out there. And
Mm.
we did watermelons. And I'm gonna
Wow.
tell you something. My experience was get me back to New York
Oh
because
man.
let me tell you something. If this is what they had to go through, I'm talking about being up at 5 in the morning, going to the
Mm,
fields, and you're in them fields from 5 to 2,
mm,
and the peak sun is between 11 and
hmm.
maybe 3. I know in
Yeah.
Memphis we couldn't go outside until after 4 because
Yeah.
the
It's just
sun
so
was so
hot.
high.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
my
That's
experience
interesting.
with it was I understood why those who fought to get off the plantation was fighting to get off the plantation because it's grueling work, and to be out there working basically for food. You're
Yeah.
basically, if so, for your master be paying for the roof over your head.
Hmm.
Nah, B.
So
Listen, y'all. Mm,
yeah, let's explore a little bit, for the audience. How did we get here? Like how studios have learned to they've leaned too heavy on the quote unquote safe bets. I mean, to me, you gotta kind of, I don't say take out Marvel, DC, because those are, it's a different type of deal, but at the same time, the studios have gone crazy with it because they're like, they saw the success that it's had, right? And Marvel and DC is only accounts for two studios, right? Two majors, but you're talking Disney, you're talking Warner Brothers, right? But um remakes, let's put that in the mix. Reboots, you know, um what I said at the top of the show is, and we'll connect it to what we're just talking about. Sinners is yet proof that audiences crave originality when it's
yeah,
executed
execute it
properly
properly.
at a high level. That
Exactly.
that is the key. When it's executed at a high level, executed properly, the audience will, if you build it, they will come. You know what I'm saying? If you film it, they will come. you know, but the studios, so we've gotten here because of, studios just basically trying to, the safe bet philosophy has been a problem with the studios for decades, or what they think is a safe bet. And it ends up not being a safe bet because if you do these, most remakes bomb. A lot of them do. It all depends, and they don't all bomb, but they make money from them, and that's what the studios are there for. They want to make money, right? Executives, I should say. Um, but I believe that this movie could possibly set a new tone where you're going to start uh, attracting more original stuff like this, and like Jordan Peele stuff, which he's already been doing it like that. Jordan Peele is another one who's been doing his own thing, right? um so there's a let me just grab there's a question over here on IG. Said, you think they're going to be more vampires made by black directors? He said one of his favorites was Vampire in Brooklyn. So thank you for that question. Um I don't know, but it's possible, because what happens is the studios, they monkey see monkey do. You see that what happens is the success of a film, and this film continues to be successful. This depending on what the bottom line is, depending on how much money it ultimately makes, you might see some studios out there looking for more material that's in, I don't know if it's going to be vampire, but it might be, dark arts and, supernatural stuff. And they may just explore that just to not be a complete ball hanger and do vampire stuff. But um, one thing, rest assured, if you are a vampire film fan and you're more interested in seeing black filmmakers do vampire flicks, but one thing you have to remember, or you can take comfort in, is that the vampire is the most celebrated character in Hollywood, period, ever. There's more films about vampires This is a statistical fact. There's more films about vampires than there is about any other topic that's ever crossed movies. Right? There's thousands of vampire films, good, bad, and in between, right? And it's a
Vampires
cult.
and werewolves
Yep,
and
yep, and
zombies.
yeah, and their zombies is probably catching up. But vampires even had a jump on zombie films because we can go all the way back to Night of the Living Dead for zombie films, but there was vampire films being made before that, you know. So zombies could be catching up though. Um so you could take comfort in that, you know. Um but yeah, I do think that they are going to start because you already got Jordan Peele, who's already been a proven, successful at doing the whatever genre you want to call it. You want to call it horror, you want to call it, dark thrillers or whatever, what have you. And he's got another film coming out. I saw the trailer for it. I think it's called Him.
Yeah.
With Marlon Wayans. That's
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peele. I don't know if he directed it, but I think he produced it. Um, Jordan Peele produced it, and he may be directing it. But yeah, that's one of those. Looks like some sort of psycho thriller type of deal. And it's another mixed bag because it's got sports mixed in with that one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, hey, this definitely might be the turning point. So here's another talking point. Uh, Genre blending. That goes right into what we talk about. Genre bending with purpose, right? Horror, in this case was horror meets history, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Ryan Coogler massively blends supernatural horror, Southern Gothic, historical trauma, and black spirituality. The hoodoo and all that other stuff in there. Set in the Jim Crow South, KKK in the backdrop. You know, um, Going forward, and this kind of like helps answer the gentleman's question over there. Um, on IG, mixing horror with real life systematic horrors creates a more layered, emotional, like resonant story. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
And
Um,
you know who did it first though?
hmm,
Who did it first was, and I don't know if this was a white director, but and I keep forgetting the name of the show, but the one that Jonathan Majors and all of them was in on
right.
HBO,
Lovecraft. Yeah, Lovecraft
Lovecraft
Country.
Country.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that
was the
was I
same
mean
thing.
Lovecraft Country was phenomenal.
Supernatural horror
Yep.
and
Hit me up with real life, historical traumas,
this
in
is right after Emmett Till. As a matter of fact, it was
history.
filmed during Emmett Till.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff was, yeah. I mean, they touched on a lot. That that show, and who knows, man? You never know. It could get a revamp or something. That show did not get the props it deserved.
Nope.
Not at all. That show was phenomenal.
And they
Uh,
weren't and
great,
they weren't go,
great
they weren't going.
writing, great
Mm-hmm.
acting
Definitely.
performances.
Yep.
Jonathan Majors. That's what pulled my coattail to him. That's the first thing I ever saw him in. I was like, "Who is this dude?" I was like, "Yo, this dude can act." Then
All
you,
of them.
you
They
yeah,
that whole cast has springboarded and been in so the black lady that plays
yeah, she's in this
the blue
movie.
face.
Wumi,
She
the
was
Wumi,
yep, she
yep,
was in Lovecraft and she actually
Wumi is
lost a little
in
bit of weight with her fine self.
it. Yeah, she's in Lovecraft. Yep, and that's what's up. I mean, Wumi Musaku. She was yeah, that's the first time I ever saw her. Lovecraft Country. So Yeah, man. I think this is something that's going to help shape some new stories that could be coming out from this. We already know Ryan is setting up his uh franchise, with that. Um yeah, but the power of genre fusion, you know, is something that I think is going to just, it's going to be something that's going to catch the eyes. I think it all depends on, like I said, what the final number for this film is going to be. And we're gonna get it before the show's over. We're gonna get into the deal that Ryan Coogler, struck. Uh, I mean, it's pretty much all profit for him at this point because he didn't take a lot of money, if any, money up front, and he's getting a lot of back in, and he's got box office take, but he's not getting back in where it's like you gotta wait for a certain number to reach before you start seeing back in. you know, I mean, he G'd these studios up, man. That's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That first dollar that drops at the box office, the first ticket that's bought, that first dollar and
he
25 cents probably belongs to him.
you gotta love it. Um, you gotta love it. What? How can you not love that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about the star power and the storytelling and the future of of representation with this film. So it's like,
Oh, when this movie represents, oh God,
no, as it represent. The significance of Michael B. Jordan's dual role. Let's talk about that, right? The breakout. We'll start with him. First of all, it did a lot of things for me. The dual role, not only the good performance, obviously that stands out, but you got to see, um, like you said, they mixed in the historical trauma of it all.
mm-hmm.
Uh, you got to see them in their raw form. It had a lot of heartfelt stuff. You got to see the connection between the brothers, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and also the connection of when it's broken, when they're not broken, meaning like they're not together on screen. It almost felt like things just didn't go right when they weren't together. You know what I'm
When they
saying?
weren't
Like,
together,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and we
Also,
all know, that. Go ahead. Also, what?
the historic presence of music, of black music,
Oh man, that
and
was just the historical. I mean, the fact that, and I say this to people all the time. The scene that basically takes you through a history lesson, okay, of our music. And I say our music because we've said this plenty of times. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is coming back around this year, and we always talk about it when it's around, and we always try to educate people who are so angry that well, why are R&B singers being put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or whatever, rappers, whatever it is. We always have to educate people to let them know that all music that comes through rock and roll started with blues, right? And if the people that don't believe me, all I tell them to do is just look at the inaugural class for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah, BB King and Chuck Berry. Like, that's the
without
inaugural class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
exactly, and they should even go further back than that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's no, and those some of those records are even hard to find. of the early
Uh,
blues players
yeah, of
that played
course.
with a banjo. They weren't even
Yep,
playing,
yep, with
which the
banjos.
banjo came from East Africa.
East Africa, exactly. I mean, I don't even dig that deep because these people's heads will explode. But yes, literally. But what I'm saying is, the blues, when it comes to American music, right? Once it got over here, and because Ryan Coogler actually gives you that little history lesson as well. Because if you watch it, right? Um, if you watch the film, it touches on the African roots and yeah, I mean it was glorious, bro. It was glorious. That one scene, and like I said, I'm trying not to be too spoiler-y. Um, you know, yeah, and that's what someone said. Prime's what up, Prime? He says, as it should, pay the man. Pay the man.
Yeah,
Uh,
just like they should have played Otis Blackwell, who is who?
yeah,
The original man who did music for Elvis Presley. He even taught Elvis
right,
Presley how to sing in that style.
exactly. Someone else here says rock and roll is simply rhythm and blues with an electric guitar. You know, the electric
That's
guitar.
all it is.
That is. Thank you for that comment. That is the
That's
simplest, layman's term that you could ever tell somebody. You know what I
exactly.
mean? It's just rhythm and blues with an electric guitar. You know,
And not
that
just
is,
an electric guitar, mini
yeah,
guitar, because it's used to play
right,
three different guitars. You got a rhythm,
exactly.
you got
Yep.
you got the rhythm, the
The
bass,
lead
and what's the third
and
one?
the lead guitar, the
And the lead
rhythm
guitar,
guitar,
right?
and
Hmm.
the bass guitar. The electric guitar replaced the piano as a centerpiece. Yeah, when it comes to rock and roll,
Facts.
because that's a fact.
That's a
Good
fact.
comment. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Because
That is a fact.
during the late I want to say during the late 60s going into the 70s is when the piano got phased out of
Right.
rock and roll.
That's why Jerry Lee Lewis had such a hard time because he was the only one doing rock and roll and still doing it on a piano.
Piano.
He was using a piano because he hung around black folk. His whole
Hmm.
band was black, just like all of those singers were. And he knew that the blues. Remember, Jerry Lewis went to juke joints. Like he
Yep.
hung out in juke joints.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's how he learned how to play the way he played. He was in juke joints. You know, and he was. That's why he stayed with the
With the
piano.
piano.
And at that time, people were like, "Nah, man, you can't be playing a piano. It's rock and roll. You need a guitar.
Yeah, and that's
You
why
got to play a guitar."
and that's why a lot of artists, a lot of rock and roll artists, especially metal artists, got a
Mhm.
lot of pushback when they started adding in like Kiss did. Kiss was
Yep.
one of the bands that did it. They started adding in like synths, electro synths and synth sounds into
Yeah.
their rock and roll songs. If you listen to a lot of
Yep.
rock and roll from '75 going forward, some of them had a lot of synth sounds in them. It was
Yeah.
just still still technically what a piano, but it's just
Yeah.
an electric piano.
It's electric piano. Exactly. So yeah, that's what's up. Oh, and that is Larry. What's up, Larry, man? Thanks for joining us and dropping comments. And that was Larry who made that comment about the rock and roll.
And what's up, Larry Last?
Yeah. What's up, Larry? Yeah, man. I tell you, man, it's just so with that being said, this movie takes you on a quick little journey through
Black
our
history.
music, the history of it, right?
Hmm.
That part. Um, so Michael B. Jordan, back to that real quick. The role, like I said, it did a lot for me because not only with the two twins and the difference of them and their their differences, their similarities, and anything in between. But as a director a filmmaker who's actually working on a film with double characters, one actor playing two characters, it also pushed the boundaries of technology and how to pull this off properly. There's a lot of films where they've done this before, and there's some that were done really well, especially for its time, and then there's some that weren't done not so well.
And let me tell
One,
you something.
I don't want to throw darts. I don't want to throw darts at anybody, but one I have to say, which was painfully obvious, was that Will Smith movie.
Oh, Gemini Man.
Gemini Man.
They would
Nice,
have put. If they would have
nice
put.
concept to do it, but it was poorly executed with their team. Uh, they had the right idea, but poorly executed. You could tell the way they pulled this off was masterful in Sinners.
And
The
here's why.
opening shot, the first time you see them, the
Mm-hmm.
twins are standing there together, passing a cigarette back and forth to each other. And not only, I explained, remember I talked to you about this offline. Not only did they break all the rules of, you know, the camera was moving. First of all, that never is really supposed to happen when you try to do these shots. And the the camera was moving, and it was just so fluid, man. You could not tell the difference. It just looked like two different people.
Because they
You know.
stayed there. They held their positions. They did.
Hmm.
They held their positions on film like they were supposed to. But not only that, Ryan Coogler, he kind of let it slip a little bit. He pulled the resources. He's like, look, I worked with all of these mother suckers at Disney. Come get to
Hmm.
work. Let's do this.
I'm
And
sure
and
he
and
did, man.
and and,
That's what you do. Use your
and, and,
resources.
and Disney's at the top of the game of making people look younger.
Yeah.
Them, what was it? Them and Lucas. Well, Lucas is Disney, so I guess it doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, he said it early when he was on. He said, as a matter of fact, he said it on a Breakfast Club interview. He was like, yo, I got terrific resources. He was like, we were able to do
Terrific
some amazing stuff
resources.
on this stuff, and they shot it with all IMAX cameras.
Yeah, the IMAX and then the 70 millimeter
Yep.
film. Um, yeah, that was just beautiful the way they did that, man. It was nice. So that part, uh, real quick, we'll talk a little bit about the breakout performance from Miles Caton. Miles
Mm.
Keaton. I said it earlier. I touched on it earlier. Obviously, when you're new to the game, when you're new to the acting, it's great to write a role that fits you so well as far as like your talent and your ability. His singing, which he has a wonderful voice um, for this character. I love that he's so young, right? He's a young singer, but the research he had to do for this character. I mean, I want to talk about that. Ryan Coogler had challenged every one of their actors to really research their characters' backgrounds and dig into yourself, pause, um, background. You know? um, dig into your own background because Haley Steinfeld, big up to her, she said, quite frankly, she was kind of employed to go into her own past because her past is similar to her character's past. She has black in her family. Her father, her grandfather, I think she said, was half black, or her father was half black, or something like that. She has a mix of like black, Filipino, um, Jewish, German. Like she's got a crazy mix in there, but she has a significant amount of black in her family and in her, I think it's her grandfather. So ironically, that was part of the character. Her character's history was, once again, had some black in her family, but she was, she passed as white regardless. So F Force said that. So Miles Caton, to do this music and research, right? To do this music, it must have been wonderful for him, right? Must have been wonderful for him. Um, I enjoyed his. I mean, first of all, what did you tell me off? You told me this off camera. You said with Michael B. Jordan, his reaction to Miles
Yeah,
singing.
yeah. His reaction to Miles singing was a real reaction on set.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I damn, this shit is fucking me up. The whole film crew, the whole production crew in the background,
Uh-huh.
and when they said action, and that whole sequence started playing, and then he picked up the guitar, and then he started singing that first note he hit.
Yeah,
With that
he looked like whoa.
Ryan Coogler's what he showed on screen with his mouth dropped wide open, and he was
Uh-huh.
looking at Cuz like nigga, what?
Eh.
Who is this? Nobody, and he said this. He said nobody on set thought that guy could really sing like that. It messed everybody's minds up. I know the audio guy, whoever the audio guy was, I know that must have did something to it. He must have had to. I know he had to dial back his audio a little bit because he had to start peaking. He had to start going into the red when he hit that note because
Yeah.
the mic and the lavaliers and stuff they're set at a certain level and they
Yeah.
and they
And the
account for
shotgun mic too.
yeah, and the shotgun lights, and they account for, things like that happening. But I don't think nobody was ready for that. I'm pretty sure they had to re-go. Hey, we need to cut, go back. The audio's messed up because he belted that. Like I felt that in my
Yeah.
heart. He
Yeah.
belted that out. Yeah, that
Yeah, dude.
man.
He was
Listen,
doing his thing,
and
man.
now I can see why. Now that at that point I understood going back to the opening sequence with him and his father telling him to put that banjo down and come back to the house of God because this
Yeah.
is where you're. For those who
Yeah, it
don't
was
understand, for those who don't understand the anointing, that's what the anointing is.
mhm.
When somebody performs an action that
Yeah.
literally pierces
Your soul.
your
Yeah.
whole very physical self. Like you can't
Yeah.
even explain what. Oh, man, anyway, I don't want
Yeah,
to go
nah.
on course.
But yeah, when he did that, that's cool that scene in the movie that made the cut, that was a real reaction from Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
It might have been the first time he heard him really sing.
yeah, and that was the whole point. Nobody had really heard him sing. I think he probably did some regular old basic stuff, but then when because sometimes as directors you kind of explain to the actor what
Hmm.
you want the scene to do and what you're trying to project to the audience, what you want the audience to feel. And
Yeah.
Homeboy probably said, "Oh, that's what you want? Y'all ain't ready for that, but I get it to you anyway." And man, I'm in tears now, man. That thing
Yeah.
hit me, bro. It hit me.
Uh,
I was like, "Whoa!" I'm that thing came through the speakers, and let me tell you something, man. That's how I know the audio guy probably either had to do a retake or they had to do an ADR of that part because
yeah.
I know those microphone levels spiked in the red. I know they jumped in the red. and with everything being digital now, it's different when you're doing audio. When audio would peak, it would just distort.
Right.
When you do it with digital, it clips.
It
So
clips. You
it
don't
cuts in and out.
cut it out so it doesn't have distortion. Because distortion, you can't even EQ distortion.
Nope,
It's
it's not you can do about distortion at
so
all.
when it's digital, not to get too technical with everybody, but when it's digital, it clips, so it doesn't distort. You know,
But
yeah.
man,
Rod
that was
said never had nothing good that didn't start with us. Yeah, basically. um, yeah, man. I put a question out there to people. Do you think that Sinners has opened the door or can open the door for more culturally rooted genre films, or is it a one-off? That's a question that I'm posing to people. You can leave your comments in the comments section if you want to answer that question,
and I
or if
say
you want to
no.
answer it. And also yeah, just leave your thoughts in the comments section. But yeah, that's one of the questions. Also, you know, here's another question. How important is it that this story was told by Ryan Coogler specifically? Would it have hit the same if someone else would have told it? I don't think it would have. I wouldn't. Obviously, because for the fact that this is a personal, it's based on a personal feeling and story of his. And I said in my review that's out there, you guys can check it out. I put it on the Facebook pages. It's also here on YouTube. I said in my review that I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Canton's character is based on someone that is close to Ryan Coogler.
Oh, it is.
You know
It
what I'm
it absolutely is. It's
saying? Yeah,
based on his great uncle. It
right.
was either his great uncle or his grandfather. I'm not sure
Right.
which. I know it was one of his. I know it was one of
Yeah.
his great family members.
So the
That
answer to that question is no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't have hit the same if someone else. Not saying that someone else couldn't tell a story like this and it would have hit,
but
hit
it
a
wouldn't
good
hit
way.
like
But
this
this,
because
right? This is a
because
particular thing.
it's tied into everything in this movie that you see is literally tied into his uncle and the history that his
Yeah.
uncle gave him and the fact
Yeah.
that his uncle all his uncle listened to was old time blues.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
Everything
that
pre
and
1968 is what
and
he
yeah.
listened to.
And he said on many occasions that he would play those records to kind of conjure up the
Yep.
spirit of his uncle, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to take that feeling. Then you add in the feeling that he said that he got when he saw the cotton field for the first time. You know, uh, he said he had an overwhelmingly feeling of guilt, right? And all of that stuff wrapped into one is when he started formulating this film, and that was while he was shooting. I believe it was Wakanda Forever because he had to come to Atlanta for both, But I think Wakanda Forever was shot predominantly here in Atlanta, a lot of it. So, um, I think it was during that where he said he drove by and saw the cotton field for the first time, and it just kind of like took over.
And you do feel something when
You
you're
feel
when
something.
you're if you're down in Georgia, Alabama,
Yeah.
again in Memphis,
Yeah.
like we used to walk across the Arkansas Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and they used to tell us the stories of like how you couldn't even walk across that bridge at night,
Yeah.
like in the borderline between Mississippi and Memphis, and just even the area where my mom lived in, where my mom bought her house, and my cousins used to live in that area too, but they lived on the black side of it. It's called Whitehaven, and they
Yeah.
since have not changed the name of that area of Memphis, and which tells you everything you need to know about what was going on in that time. Um, And I think that's what Ryan Coogler really tried to bring out in this film. Like we said in the beginning, like Wes touched on, Jim Crow South, which was post the release of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Even for Texas, because
Mm-hmm.
as if for those of you who don't know, Texas was the last state in the United States that was liberated from slavery because they didn't know.
They didn't
Nobody
know.
came down and told them and gave them the message. They purposely kept them
Right.
people in the dark and as slaves for several years until they figured out, like, oh, everybody else free? What y'all
Oh,
doing?
dang. Yeah. Right. So,
And in that era of Jim Crow, like, because there was a time where blacks were actually free and people were doing well. You had black senators, you had black
yeah.
Democrats, you had black people in government office. You had a lot of different things going on. But then when Jim Crow
Yeah.
kicked in, and I can't remember the president's name, but when Jim Crow kicked in, that's when you had the Klan. That's when you had a lot of hangings of black people was in that period, especially during the time of Jim Crow. There was a lot of hangings of black people, and
Yeah.
people made actual postcards
Yeah.
to send to their family members of
Yeah.
hangings. And so
Yeah.
it's the way he touched for him to pick that time period and to give it such a realistic touch. And by the way, what's his face? Oh man, what's his name? I don't know why I can't remember this guy's name. But the guy that was playing the bouncer at the door of the juke joint.
Oh,
His
yeah. Omar, Benson or something like that.
Vincent, yeah. He has
Yeah.
he actually has an interview right before it. That's why I forgot about the show was on because I was watching
Mhm.
Roland and I was waiting for his interview to come on. Then I looked up and I was like, oh shit, it's after 8 o'clock. Let me call.
Mm.
He has
Mhm.
an interview on Roland Martin about the show, about the movie.
Yeah, man.
Um,
He. It's funny because I don't know if he's maybe involved in another film at the moment because he hasn't really been on the press tour with the rest of them. I haven't seen him a lot. I've seen most of the rest of the cast. Obviously heavy Michael B. Jordan, heavy Haley Steinfeld, Wumi Musaka Masaku
oh,
is
the
is
Asian
there.
chick.
No, Wumi is that's the black woman from Lovecraft Country.
Oh, well, crack off you.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's been on the tour. The gentleman, I forget the guy's name, who what's his name? Jack O'Connell or something like that. The guy who played the head vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Um and of course Delroy Lindo is been with them. Miles
Which he
Tate
didn't
has
even
been
look
with
like
them.
himself. Did they do some facial recognition on facial
Mhm.
what's we call it on him too?
Mhm.
Cause he looked young as Jack. He
Who
I swear to God.
Delroy Lindo?
Yeah, I'm
Delroy Lindo?
watching this thing and I'm questioning myself the whole movie. Is that Delray Lindo? I'm like,
Yeah, man, he was doing his thing. Nah, he looked great in that. So yeah, you see all of them on that on their press tour. I say this too about the press tour. The I won't get too much into that because these immature people is creating narratives that don't exist. But this you could tell that this cast generally really enjoyed each other's company, really liked each other. Um, Ryan Coogler said that because he's so used to doing films that take 2 years to film, he wanted to film this one fairly fast. Like he's like, once it was all greenlit and everything was ready to go, um, they started filming in early 2024 with a release date of when it came out in mind, just a year later. Release and everything. So that means they had to film it, edit it, do all of the formats, and get all that stuff done ahead. And they obviously succeeded. He was like, most of the films that I worked on in the last few years took a long time to finish. They
because
take a
people
long
kept
time to
having their
finish.
input in it. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's why he
Well,
wanted
that's
to.
one reason. Yeah.
He's like, yo, I got this film locked. Let's go. This is my
Yeah.
script. This is what we're working with. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying there probably weren't changes to the script and directions to make the
Yeah.
film better. While they were,
Not
while they,
by the studios. That's
but
not by the studio.
nothing about the studios.
Not by the
That would
studio.
go
If it was changes made, it was his or maybe a mentor or someone that he trusts.
on
Because
set.
he
Yep.
said, yeah, because he said there's certain filmmakers that mentor him. Nolan is one of them.
One of them. Yeah.
So he said he gets on the phone with Christopher Nolan. He got on the phone with Christopher Nolan with the whole idea of doing because Tenet, they pulled it off well in Tenet too,
Oh my
with the
God.
doubles. You know
Oh
what I'm
my
saying?
God.
So he was like, they pulled it off well with the double character in Tenet, and he was like, so he got on with him and
See,
a couple
again,
other
using your
people.
resources.
Yeah, you use your resources, man. And I mean, you're talking about like you said, this is a man who had all the resources or has all the resources at his disposal if he wants to use them.
He got the whole toy box. Like he got the
Yeah.
real toy box.
Just like
And
when he did Black Panther, everything was at his disposal, man.
and
All
he
of the
said it.
yeah,
He said he was nervous because he's like, how the hell am I gonna make this film?
yeah,
And he walked into Disney and they was like, what you need?
yeah,
They gave him
yeah.
everything he needed to make that
He did.
film the
Yeah.
best film that it was. And you could tell by watching Black Panther that without the resources of Disney, it would
Yeah.
have been a good movie, but it wouldn't
Mhm.
have been that.
Yeah, it
You know
would
what I'm saying?
have.
It would have been a good movie, but it wouldn't have been that. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? The
yeah,
extra
yeah,
special effects, the stunts,
yeah,
them ride, her, Ganai Ganera riding on the top of that Lexus was crazy. I mean,
yeah.
just some of that stuff alone. So it was nice that he was able to again pull into his bag of tricks and pull
Mhm.
out his own bag of tricks of stuff that he's learned and
Yep.
ideas that he's had to do while doing these other films. I
Yep.
mean, listen, that's the other thing that's crazy, bro. This guy came right out of film school,
Yeah. And
did
got into
got
it,
a,
man.
got a
And
major
Fruitvale.
blockbuster movie, got
Well,
a,
I mean, Fruitvale wasn't considered a major blockbuster
but
movie.
okay, it
That
was a
was like an
critically,
independent
it was a
type of film, but it
critically
was
acclaimed
critically
movie.
acclaimed. Yeah,
Yeah,
critically
I'll
acclaimed.
take
But
that back. Yeah,
like I said,
critically acclaimed.
he's the tomato master, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
He goes on Rotten Tomato. His lowest Rotten Tomato score is like 87. That's Wakanda Forever. Maybe that's his lowest. Everything is
And then that
90s
shouldn't
and
even have been
above.
that low because Wakanda Forever was crazy with
Yeah,
Namor.
that was that's the critic score. Obviously, the audience score was higher. It was in the 90s, but he's good with that. Like his films. So this is what I'm saying. That this kind of sets up. The other thing that I was talking about was those type of films, man. The success of it and stuff like that. It could definitely lead people or lead studios in that direction because studios like to go with what they think is successful, right?
Yep.
So it might open up the doors, so films like Get Out, which kind of help push that narrative as well. Original IP with Jordan Peele and a social type of message with it as well that also tampers with history and things like that, and dark arts and
Not
things like
tampers,
that.
but not tampers with,
Not tamper,
into.
but taps into it. Of course, we talk about Lovecraft Country, which really never got
that really
never got the props it deserved, and it should have had another season. They should not have did one season of that.
You know why they didn't give it another season? Because again, I honestly believe, and I don't care what nobody says. And my opinion is not the opinion of Real Talk Radio. It's my own self comment. I honestly believe white people want to bury white. It's I'm just gonna say Caucasians, and I mean all of them. I don't care who you are, what race you are, what ethnicity. All of them that work in Hollywood have a very bad habit of letting films being released, which is one of the reasons why, and I hate using this term, why they crushed the black exploitation film era, because they were putting black people to work. You know how many black people were going to work and behind the scenes at these studios? It was crazy. So even with even with this, you know, there's going to be some, Pookie is going to come to the studio. It's going to be a great director. It's going to be Pookie from Harlem. He's going to be another Ryan Coogler. And guess what's going to happen? They are going to put handcuffs on him, because now when he tries to look for the deals that Ryan Coogler is getting, Ryan Coogler may be a one-off that's probably never going to happen again, especially with the way his contracts are being structured. The
Well,
only
the
right,
way, I mean,
the only reason,
for one thing, the only thing I will say about that is, and it won't be for a lack of trying, because people are going to be like I said, Christopher Nolan's going to be looking at the studio like this. WTF? What's going on here? How many hits have I given Warner Brothers? And you, right? What?
I bet you as soon as he heard it, he was calling somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, "Yo, what the fuck? What's going on?
Right now?
What you doing to me right now?"
He probably like, and I mentored this kid on this film.
And this is why, and you know what? That this proves two things. One, this goes to show, and I will give Chris Nolan credit for that. He is not a gatekeeper. He understands that he understands good filmmaking, and he understands the need for it to be across Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because it could have been very easy for him to be like, "No, son, no, do it this way," and do what a gatekeeper or what a hater would do. Stir you and tell you to do, and when the light is green, tell you, "Nah, you could really run that light. You ain't gonna get no ticket or possibly get into an accident if you go through a red light. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's easy to run a red light. It's easy to run a stop sign."
It's definitely going to raise some questions. Right.
Yeah,
And
but
for
it's
the
not. But
people
it's
who are
going to.
listening who may or may not know, Ryan Coogler has constructed a unprecedented deal with Warner Brothers to produce and direct this film and put
This
it
is
out.
what Prince wanted.
Yeah,
this is what Prince was asking for.
Prince said years ago. R.I.P. Prince. I think we just passed or came up on an anniversary.
Anniversary was yesterday.
Passing. Yeah. So he said very clearly, he explained companies, especially the distribution record companies, he said they are no more than a delivery service. They are a delivery service. He said, when you send a box through FedEx, FedEx does not ask to own what you have in that box. He was like, so the record companies that are delivering the music to the people, it's nothing wrong with having stake in it and even owning some of it. He said, but I mean, let's be fair here. You shouldn't
doing
own
all
it
the
all.
work? Yeah, the artist is getting.
You're not creating the work. You are doing exactly what you're here to do. You're taking a chance like everyone else. You are taking a chance on this particular artist who's creating. So you're putting it out there, bringing it to the masses. But it doesn't mean you should own all of it.
Exactly. At the very least, it should be a 50-50 deal, or even a 40-60 deal. I can understand, especially for studios who are providing the studio time and paying for all of that.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that studios don't deserve to get their return and their money and stuff like that, because quite frankly, every person who gets a studio film, or any film for that matter, distributed it, they are taking a chance on you. They're working based on projected numbers, not actual numbers. not
Everything's
actual
projected.
money. Right.
Yeah.
Everything's projected, right? So let's give them credit where it's due, because every creator on this planet would love for someone to take a chance on them,
Yeah.
right? Everyone feels that way. So, but at the same time, it doesn't mean because you're taking the chance on me, you take advantage of me and basically jack me for my stuff. That's where things get messy. So anyway, not to get off the track, people, so you guys know what's going on. Ryan Coogler's deal entails certain things. One is full creative control, okay, of this project. Final cut. He gets final cut, which is unheard of from directors. I don't care if you're Christopher Nolan. I don't care if you're, some of the guys who's directed the biggest films do not get final cut all the
Steven
time.
Spielberg, James Cameron. The list goes
They've
on.
gone through their moments where they didn't get final cut. Here's another big one. No studio notes.
That's never. Right
I don't
there,
think that's ever happened.
That
I
right
don't think
there,
that's ever happened with a
that
studio
that
film.
right there runs along the same lines as having a full control of the final cut.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what that is. That's the final cut is the producer sitting down watching a film and then giving you notes and telling you what you can't or what they don't want, especially if it's going for a certain rating. If the studio is looking for the film, projecting for the film to be rated for a PG-13 audience, you get notes.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. You get notes and no studio notes. Unheard of. You're talking Spielberg, Coppola. They all get studio notes.
All the greatest. Martin Scorsese still gets
filmmakers.
Listen, Martin Scorsese has made some of the greatest studio. I can't believe I'm saying this about this jackass, but anyway, he's an excellent.
Lay off Scorsese.
I know I do. Marty is an excellent director. Don't get me wrong. He is. He's an excellent director. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's wanting. He's able to deliver for every studio, but he's not above the notes process.
No, none of them are, except apparently Ryan Coogler.
There's only one guy I heard of that was
going to say this 5 minutes ago.
Only one.
You said
Lucas.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas.
Lucas. Yeah, Lucas.
Lucas is at the top of the food chain when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's because he did the right thing and secured everything from early.
Yeah, he owned all of his IP outright.
Yeah, he secured all that IP from the beginning.
So he had to negotiate. The studios had no real negotiating power with him when it came to certain things. They like, damn, he owns it all. So
yeah,
I guess you just got to trust him.
The deal, when he did the merchandising deal, forget about it. I mean,
when them dummies
could have made. He could have made a Star Wars sequel off of the money he made for merchandising.
And that was after the fact when those dummies didn't even realize that the contract had expired, but he did.
Of course he did.
And he flipped the whole thing around. But with Ryan, in respect to Ryan, the reason why Ryan's able to pull off the deals that he did is because he got billion-dollar franchises under his belt. He got two of them. Well, one of them.
Yeah.
Two films.
1 billion. Two films under that belt, under that banner, but one of them being a $1 billion film. And remember, his films out of those MCU films were the only ones I think that was nominated for an Oscar.
And won an Oscar actually.
With Ruthie Carter.
Right.
Yeah, and won, and then he turned around even with Wakanda Forever, and his actor in there got nominated for an Oscar.
Yep.
Which he should have won, but that's a whole nother story.
That's what I didn't want to talk about that.
But so looking at his track record, Warner Brothers just said, "F it, man, we going with it." And I guess I think it's a move that they took, a risky move that's gonna pay off for them. I mean, it's paying off, and it will continue to. We'll still see what the final numbers will be on this film, but hey, man, they took it, and look at all of the acclaim that it's getting, the praise that it's getting from critics, fans, celebrities, other directors, Hollywood, actors, filmmakers.
Wait,
Spike Lee,
Ryan,
who never really compliments people in public, is raving about this film. You know, um,
I'm just gonna say to Ryan Coogler, brother, like the conversation that was had between Oprah, Sidney
mhm,
Poitier, and what's his
mhm,
face, Jamie Foxx.
mhm.
Brother, you got the torch now. Don't
Yeah,
fuck it
yeah,
up. Don't mess it up. Don't do you can at this point he's not allowed to have a flop. And listen,
mhm,
we're humans. We make mistakes. We
yeah.
always we always do something wrong at some point that it's not
Mhm,
our best work. But so far, this dude has been batting 1,000.
mhm.
Like every time
Yeah,
he's
he
been up to
has.
the plate, he's knocked it out the park.
Every time he does something, he like his record speaks for himself, and I guess that's what ultimately landed him this deal. So, like we said, you got final cut, you got no notes from the studio, you got ownership of your IP,
Jesus Christ.
and the one thing that we didn't mention, proximity. His company, Proximity Media, secured the sole rights to make any sequels to this film. Not Warner
That
Brothers,
part. That part.
Proximity.
That's that part. The
So
studio is
technically,
almost completely
yeah,
blocked out.
yeah, technically he can go to another studio and make that
Yeah,
film
and
if
do
he
another
wants.
one. Yep.
If he wants to go and do a sequel,
He can take
he
it
can say
anywhere he
he
wants.
can go to Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like he can go wherever he want to go and take it anywhere he wants to go. You know,
And
um,
that goes to show how desperate Warner Brothers is right now, too.
yeah, yeah, it does. Because Disney would have never did that. I don't care what anybody said. Disney
Disney
would
would have
have
said,
never done a deal like this ever.
I'm not gonna say the word that I'm not I'm just gonna put it like this. Disney would have been like, N word, you done lost your Emma F in mind. Who the hell do you think
Negro,
you
please.
are? You done he would have got his butt handed to him in that
Yeah,
conference room.
in that
I'm
conference,
sorry.
that would have never happened. That's why, Warner Brothers is sitting there like, what? So, you didn't go to Disney, huh? Well, we'll give you what you want. Just stay here and do it.
Now, that also means that secured him some more stuff at Disney, because now, like the Russo brothers are being able to come back and do
Yeah,
Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, and
yeah,
possibly Secret Wars. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
After they stepped away and worked with other studios and
Studios and
did
did other
some of their
stuff.
other stuff, that they were able to come back and pretty much write their own ticket. And I believe they're going to also kick off the mutant era. Oh my God, I hope they do that.
You know, you know they're going to do that, and
They want
and it's
to.
going to happen. It's going to happen in Doomsday. They're going to kick
They're
off
going to kick
all of
off
that
the
in
mutant
Doomsday.
era, the mutant saga. But yeah, we'll get back to Disney. But yeah, man,
Oh,
I think it's unprecedented deal, and I love it. He was able to tell these stories. The story he was able to tell the story he wanted to tell. He did it so good, and I will repeat what I said earlier. Audiences are craving originality if it's executed properly and at a high level.
yeah.
Those are, like I said, it can't be no. I'm not trying to take a shot at Tubi, but it can't be Tubi. It can't be a Tubi flick. Meaning, I don't mean a Tubi flick, but some of these producers put anything on Tubi. It can't be that. And people watch them because they're original concepts, but they're just not
The
executed
garbage.
properly. They're
The
not
garbage. Let's be the
not,
garbage.
right. They're not executed properly. So They're not, but there is a niche market for it, and people watch them, even when they're bad. People watch them. So that shows you right there that people are craving something different. You know what I mean? Than a franchise, not just a franchise, but then a remake or already IP. That includes comic book films. That includes, superhero films, because really that's only accounted for two major studios that handling all of the superhero films. But other films, what they're doing is running around trying to find comic book IP and stuff like that. And at one point it was the book novel thing where that became a big craze to adapt the novel into a movie and a franchise, and with Harry Potter and this and the Hunger Games and then all of those things that that was the craze for a minute.
The Born
Teen movies.
Identity,
Yeah, I mean
the
like
Harrison.
the teen drama books, or that was like books that appealed to like
Those
young
Alex Ross,
adults.
those Alex Ross books back in the '90s that was
Mhm.
made. Those were from the I forgot
Right.
after the author's name is, but him and the other one, the one that all the like Clear and Present Danger and
Yep. Remember they were doing that at the time. That was Tom
yeah,
Clancy
Tom
stuff.
Clancy, yeah, and them
Yep.
Tom Clancy books are hot.
Oh, those books was crazy, man. Shout out to my cousin Anthony. He put me on the Tom Clancy years ago, and I remember he loved Clancy. Boy, he read Clancy all the time. He had all the books, Clear Present Danger, all of these films, all of these books that were made into films. He had them. But yeah, that was they go through these trends. Now, could this be the next trend? Original IP with some sort of heart to the storytelling, though, not just make up some original IP. Like I said, I think
So
he sets a bar. You can't if you're going by this film. It's not just like, hey, I got a vampire film. Let me do one. No, that's not what we're talking about here. It's it's not just a vampire film. It ain't even a vampire film, in my opinion.
it's a multiple
It's a
it,
mixed genre film,
of thing,
but
and it
I
moves as
wouldn't
such
classify it
because
as a vampire film, but it's got vampires in it. You know what I mean?
and
And
it is and technically it is a horror film because it is
it is
vampires.
right. It's technically a
Um,
horror film, a mixed fused genre
but the
horror
way
film.
it moves, but the way the movie moves, see, that's what makes it stand out from everything else, is the
Mhm.
way the movie moves. It starts out showing you the two brothers in a post or beginning stages of the Jim Crow era or the middle of the Jim Crow era.
Yeah.
Then it switches over to showing you the mystical side or the voodoo
Yep.
side
Yep.
of black
The
culture
mystical side
from
of
that
it,
time period,
and
which is
and
very
and
few.
and the spiritual side
The spiritual
of it,
side
of
with the
how you
church.
can,
Yep.
like you said about the anointing, and how you could kind of take that base and put it on, the preacher boy character, and he had a gift that was just tied into all of that stuff. It was just different, you know what I mean? And
And the
so
fact that his
all of that stuff.
performance of it,
Yeah.
and the fact that his performance of it was, and that was the other thing about this film. I'm sorry to cut you off. That was the other thing about this film was the performances from the key people in every area that we're talking about. Their performances made you they were excellent performances. There were no flaws in any of the performances that I've seen on here. um Even from the I forgot about the part that you said about the white the black girl passing as white. That
Mhm.
reminds me of the movie Passing with Tessa
Yeah.
Thompson and
Yep.
Ruth
And
Negga.
Ruth Negga, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So with her character passed, but because of her character like that, she had to dig into that. Um, yeah,
And that
man,
was
I
a
think
real thing. Like
real stuff.
yeah, man.
Real
This
stuff,
is
man.
this
Her character was passing as well. I mean, she was white too, but she, even back then, you couldn't have, that's why that one drop rule. You couldn't have a drop of black blood running
Blood
through
in
your
you.
veins, or else you were not considered white.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? So she still had to pass as white, and he tried to set her up to have a good life doing that. You know what I mean? And it's a lot, man. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too spoiler ish with it, but overall, I think to wrap this whole thing up, man, I'm hoping that it does. We may not see a deal like this again, but it's not gonna be for a lack of trying. People are gonna definitely
But
approach this.
he set the trail, like
Yeah,
Jay Z said, like Jay Z says.
yeah,
He's like, yo, say what y'all want. He's like, but I laid out the blueprint. If you listen to most of my albums, I'm telling you how to do this shit,
yeah,
how to
yeah.
how to make the system
Mhm.
work for you.
All you
It's
have to do is look at films like this. Go and watch Sinners. Other things that I will suggest: films like Get Out, films, a show. Go watch Lovecraft Country. All right, that type of storytelling is basically what this type of storytelling was.
and they flipped it on top of all of that, and they flipped it talking about Lovecraft Country, and they flipped it from an author who was racist. He was a
Yeah,
clear born racist. And
yeah.
they flipped it and put all black people in it. Come on.
It talked about American history that included blacks. Um, check these films out. Go see Sinners for sure. It's see it in IMAX. It's a great experience.
Or
Experience it in
RPX.
IMAX or RPX. Experience it in IMAX, man, because it's shot for it. And in the third act, you really get to feel that. It's like opening up the curtain, right? It's like looking behind the curtain in the third act when the film literally goes from letterbox to opens up to IMAX, and
Man.
it is
Yeah.
it is glorious. And it's in the most intense scene in the movie when that happens. So you have to experience it in IMAX, man. At least once. If you see it more than once, at least experience it once in IMAX. Very quick, about to wrap it up. I told you the story already, Kev. My IMAX experience story. Whoever this man is, f you. But so I'm sitting in the IMAX theater, and normally, I'm a Stubbs A list. Shout out to AMC. I'm a Stubbs A list member. So I'm sitting in IMAX, my seat. I already got my seat weeks ago. Uh, I normally buy the seat next to me, like when I'm not going with somebody, because I don't like people sitting next to me, especially if I didn't realize how close those IMAX seats are.
Yeah, they're very close.
So I get there. I've been monitoring the phone app all day, and it's been open. My seat, the seat next to me, was open. No one bought it. And once you get to like my thing started at 6:15, so like by 6 o'clock, the app shuts down. Like you can't buy another ticket on the app. You might be able to buy one up front or something, but not on the app. And all the way up until the app shut down, closed off the theater, there was an open seat next to me. Lo and behold, I see some guy come sliding in, sits next to me, and I'm looking at him like, "This is your seat, bro?" Like I don't know what's. He's like, "Oh," and he's looking around. Oh, he's almost looking at me like, "Is this seat taken?" type of deal. And me in my old age, I ain't as sharp as I used to be.
Yeah,
I
dude,
should
that
I
was
should have just
expensive.
came right up and be like, "Yo, somebody sitting here, bro." Because if that was his seat, he would have fought for it. He would have been like, "Nah, I paid for this seat. This is my seat."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I should have just said somebody sitting here, and then I just if it would have proven that it was his seat, then I just would have been like, "Yeah, well, someone was sitting here before you came, so maybe they were just sitting in your seat." But I wasn't sharp enough because I'm getting old So this guy just slides in, sits down next to me. He's looking around. He's looking all nervous. I'm like, this guy clearly snuck into this theater. He's shaking his leg going like this. He's like, and you bouncing your leg, so the floor is moving. Everybody in that damn row probably felt with his leg. And I'm just sitting here like, yo, I tried, man, and I'm a New York dude down here in the South, and you know the South, these Southern cats don't play, man. You
And I
you know
keep
you
telling you
you
to
you gotta
arm
be you gotta
yourself
be willing to you gotta be ready to scrap or even shoot, you
or
know, or
stab a
stab
motherfucker.
somebody. So
I keep telling
I don't
you.
do I try not to say much, because I try to let the New York attitude, not come out. But I couldn't help it, man. He kept bouncing his leg and like nervous, and I'm like, then he sounded like I thought I was hearing myself, like hearing things. Sound like he was talking to himself, and I'm just sitting there like. So I kind of like slammed my hand on the where the armrest is, and I'm like, "Yo, son, you alright?" I was like, "You good?" He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You good?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Yo, you moving and stuff like you nervous or something? Like you alright? Like you making me nervous." I had to say it, man. And oh no, he stopped moving. He stopped fidgeting for a
Shit, I'd have
while.
been like, "This ain't your seat. You
Yeah,
prove it to me that this ain't your seat. You need to move.
yeah,
Not make you have to get up and miss half of this movie to go get a manager.
right,
Move."
exactly. Them turned into a Karen. I need the manager.
No, no, you
So
would have turned into a Karen. Me and Imani had to do the same thing. We got in the theater, and not her fault, my fault, because I was moving slow. We got into the theater right after the trailers ended and the Regal Cinemas thing ended, and the movie was just about to start. The opening credits was coming
mhm,
on and stuff, and I told Imani where our seats were, and I was walking behind her because I got my walker,
yeah, yeah.
and there was three people in our seats. That whole row was filled because I
Yo,
filled
that's
up the last
crazy.
because I filled up the last two seats on
Mhm.
the end. It was D1 and D2 because
And
all
somebody
because
was in the seats.
three people. Yo, I was gonna go. Imani stopped me. She's like, "Dad, I got it.
Yeah.
Please, just stay there. I got it." And she was very polite about it. Not the way I was gonna do it. She was very
Yo,
polite
you in
about it.
my seat, bro. Get up.
She was like, I think she first thing she said, excuse me, could you check your tickets to make sure you're in the right seat? Because I don't think you're in the right seat. And they knew immediately. Like, I guess the look on her face must have said, "Y'all niggas better move."
Yeah, exactly.
And
Nah,
but
but
they
still,
politely got up, and the
and they
one kid,
moved.
the funny thing about it is, Wes, the only reason why I'm mentioning it is the one kid said, and this is the same thing that's happened to me before. He was like, "Come on, y'all, get up. It's not fair. Come on, we got to move because we sat here because somebody else was sitting in our seats, so we got to go make them move."
Wow.
I was like,
Getting back to what I was saying. So this guy's moving, he's fidgeting through the whole movie. So my experience wasn't the greatest because I start now keeping my head on a swivel. I'm like, yo, if this dude start acting crazy, I'm gonna have to elbow him in his temple. And then, you know,
Wow.
because I'm just like, yo, what's wrong with him? You know what I mean? It's starting to make me a little nervous, and
"Yeah,
I'm
did
like,
you bring a
listen,
bomb? Did you bring a bomb in the theater or something? What the fuck
yeah,
you shaking
you're
for?"
so nervous. Exactly. You looking around, you looking. I mean, it's clearly you snuck in here, and I'm just like, yo, why are you talking to yourself? Like, what is going on right now, bro? I'm sitting
Was
there
he
watching
doing that in the beginning of the movie, or he started doing that towards the middle?
all through the movie, bro. I'm hearing this dude. I'm thinking it's the IMAX because that with that IMAX, you catch
Yeah, it got the yeah.
body when you hear it, but it was him, and I'm just saying like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, oh man, what's going on right now? I'm like, I can't have this right now. So I started getting in position. I started positioning myself to make sure if I got to knock a fool out, it became a whole thing. And obviously, thank God I got through the time, but the experience wasn't the greatest. It's just the fact that I was able to pay attention. But I want to go back because I know I'm gonna see something that I might have missed
Missed. Yep.
because I'm looking at this character
Oh
being,
wait, so IMAX was the first time you saw it?
yeah,
Oh damn.
yeah. So now I'm gonna have to go back. I want to see it again in IMAX, but I might just like make it a movie day and maybe I'll watch it in IMAX, and then if I feel like I want to watch it again, I'll go in the regular theater and watch it, whatever. Because I'm gonna go wherever is empty. Because
Exactly.
it was a
You,
good experience seeing it with people because they were excited and and stuff like that, and some good
I was
people
surprised. I was
yeah.
actually surprised at how many people was in my theater. We saw it on a regular screen,
Mhm.
because I didn't want to go. For some reason, I didn't want to go at 3:30. 2:30 was a nice time to go,
Right,
and even with that, I was having hell of a time with
right,
because Regal changed their time of how long it takes you to process a ticket, and because my
okay.
ass is 54 years old,
Mhm.
I don't remember none of my card numbers no more by heart. And one of my credit cards, the one I wanted to use, wasn't in the system. So now I got to get up. I got to go get my wallet. I got to go.
Oh, there's a whole thing.
So by the
Yeah,
time I got back, it had what happened was PayPal had put the purchase through, which I shouldn't be using PayPal anymore. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Um,
yeah,
South Africans. But PayPal pushed the process through, but it they pushed it through after the 4 minutes.
yeah.
So I sat there and trying to figure it out. I said, "Fuck, I'm just using my Cash App card. Where's that card?"
Mm.
And I went through and used it, but it's I don't
It's the whole
understand
thing.
why people can't respect other people's
Yeah,
seats.
you see, so
Like
like, come on now. This system is put in place so this doesn't happen.
happen.
So you don't have no confusion. There's been times when people come pick out their seats, go get some popcorn, and come back and
That
somebody else
and
is
people
sitting
in
there.
the seats. Yep.
So system was put in place to avoid that. And to avoid the whole, you know what I'm about to say, the whole sitting in the seat and putting garments of clothes on the chairs, trying to
Yes,
keep
and all
people
kind of shit.
like,
So my
hey,
people
get
sitting
out
here,
of here.
like, man, you need to move that shit because we about to sit here.
About
And
to
then
say,
people looking at you all crazy, and now you got, especially up here, now you got to wonder if you got to fight because you don't move somebody's shit because you and your girl want to sit there, and it's just
yeah,
you. And at the time, it would just be me and Michelle because that has
yeah.
happened to me and Michelle at
No,
the
but that's what I'm
Comac
saying. It
Theater.
happened to everybody. So that's why this system's in place. So, and this guy that skates in here like he was running from something. And I'm just sitting there like, yo. But anyway, in
If
spite
you're
of all
going to
that,
cheat,
I enjoyed
if
the
you're going to
film.
cheat, if you're going to cheat in the movie theater, go after the movie starts. Wait
Yeah,
till after the movie credits. After the movie credits,
yeah,
after the beginning credits start and the movie just
yeah,
start. That's when you stand on the side and then you slide into the seat that you want. You don't
yeah,
just or you sit your ass in a handicap spot.
yeah.
Shit.
I did that too. So, with that being said, everybody go out, watch Sinners, check it out, tell us what you think, leave comments, all of that stuff on there. And I'll kind of like wrap up that whole topic saying, Sinners, to me, it didn't just entertain, it educated, it disrupted. You know, if Hollywood's listening, this film could be the siren call for both original storytelling,
Original
right?
content.
Original content, right?
Or I should say original
And
IP.
for bold original storytelling and content, right? Whether it's
Damn a
Coogler's
period piece
vision,
at that.
Jordan Peele, Coogler, anybody like that, right? Great soundtrack. Michael B. Jordan's dual performance, or you know, the fusion between history and horror, that was great. The way they did it. Sinners reminds us that future film belongs to those who dare to create it.
And it's a perfect period piece. I mean, come on. Oh
The
man,
future of film belongs to those who dare to
to
create
take
it.
it forward.
Yeah. And that is that. And that's the
I,
bottom line. All right. Because Stone Cold
I do have one question for both of you though. Do you
was
think if Jonathan Majors didn't go through the BS that he went through, do you think Coogler would have pulled him into this film? Do you think he would
possibly,
have had a spot in the film?
possibly. I could I could be I could see that only because Michael B. Jordan and well obviously he worked with him on Creed 3 because Coogler produced that film.
Right.
So yeah, I could see that because he has an experience with this type of work. I don't know what character he would have been, but
I think he would
he
have been
probably
the
created
homeboy who was at
another
the
character.
door. Would
Maybe.
you say? Would you say,
Yeah,
Ralph?
yeah. Or he might have created another character for him. But yeah, obviously we know why he wasn't in it. But
Oh, and did all of you guys see Magazine Dreams? That's
oh
my
yeah, I saw that. I saw that release day.
okay.
It was
Yo, that movie was crazy, man.
phenomenal work from him.
Yo, that
No,
movie was crazy. I'm
yeah,
sorry. That movie was
phenom-
crazy. I I I
phenomenal work from
I
him.
never heard of that story before of
Yeah.
whoever that guy is. I want my $19 back because uh, yo, it was a great movie, but very disturbing, man.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was
we
really,
need to talk
really,
about that because that I mean
yeah.
the mental the mental roller coaster that thing
Hmm.
had you going on was
Yeah,
exhausting.
I said in a previous one of the other shows, I said, I've never in a film where like his character was so polarizing from start to finish. You see him, you stay with him from start to finish in the movie, and like everyone else in the movie felt like just props in his world because
Yeah,
uh, uh, even like everything from the town to the other characters to everyone and everything in this movie, including the weight training and the bodybuilding topic of it all. It all felt like props in this
yeah.
man's world. It was really really
I
interesting. I haven't
mean,
seen a film like that in a long
in a
time.
long time. I mean, his character was not just only delusional, but I don't know. No, I think
Maybe
delusional is the
since
wrong
maybe
word.
since maybe that's why it was likened to Taxi Driver a lot. Maybe since Taxi Driver, I haven't seen a film like that where you stick with this character and it's like everything else in the film really is could be considered irrelevant
Irrelevant. Like if
because
this,
this
oh my
character like
god,
that's how Taxi Driver was. You know what I mean? You stick
yeah,
with this
yeah.
character.
It's almost like you could take his character and put if they could take that character of Magazine Dreams and
Mhm.
do a one man Broadway stage play, and
Yeah,
I would go see it.
it could do it. Yeah.
His character is that disturbing, and just
Hmm.
like you said, it set up the other things as props that don't
Yeah.
move.
That
They
don't
have
move.
no vocal.
And
They
interchangeable. That I mean, I forgot that girl with her fine self, the black girl. I forgot she was even in the movie because I was just like,
yeah.
oh man, she's in this movie. And then like
And then
everyone else that you saw in the movie, you're just like, oh, who is that? Oh,
you
he looked
quickly
familiar.
just forgot about them. Like
You forget
even
about
the
it
way,
because she comes in and she's out, just like
yeah,
everybody else. You came in and they're out, and it's just like another prop just to satisfy that moment for that character, and then they're out.
yeah,
So you're
and
like, "Oh, what's going on here?" So yeah, that's how I felt about
yeah,
Magazine Dreams. Very good film. Obviously, it flopped in the theaters. It didn't do nothing, unfortunately. But I think they got a chance to make a little
it's
money
gonna
if
do
they
some.
bring it
It's
back
gonna
on
move on. It's
streaming.
gonna move on home because I
On
bought
home,
it
yeah,
at home theater. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
rented it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
rented it.
it's gonna make a little money doing the home theater run, the home, streaming run, and then people are gonna start popping up and talking about how good the movie is. I believe because when people are gonna watch it, they're gonna like, oh, let me watch this.
And then they'll do
No.
another. They'll probably do another run. I got a feeling they're going to do another run. If they submit this for an Oscar, they're probably
Mhm.
going to do another run in December or November.
Yeah, they would have to because it came out. That was the one thing. One of my coworkers kind of said the same thing too, and I agree with him. I wish they would have held on a little bit with it. I know they wanted to get it out and release it, and I think they released it because it's going to be a very heavy summer, so they didn't want it to get drowned by a lot of these films that are coming out. But because it's released so early, it's tough bringing back around. Even if it was, I mean, the Oscars is going to snub him anyway. But even if, let's just say he didn't have that issue, it's kind of tough when you release a film so early in the year. People kind of forget about it when it comes back around. That's a big segue. Then I'm ending the show after this. Um, I put a thing in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Oscar Academy members were never actually required to watch the films that they vote on.
What
It
the?
says in 2025, the Oscars will include new rules that require judges to watch the film.
Wes, you got to stop playing with me, bro.
Yeah,
You got to stop because I didn't see that one.
I can't even say it with a straight face. Yo, the Oscars will include new rules that require judges to watch all official nominees before voting.
Please repost that article in the room so I can
Yeah,
go back and read it tonight.
bro.
Because I want to know what prompted them, because it had to be something like, you know what, these black people must be right, because there's no way, like looking at the pattern of stuff from Denzel to God, so many nameless people, not just black but white actors who got
So
snubbed.
I'll quickly run this. It says the fact that the Academy members haven't been tasked with watching every officially nominated film in each category has long been an aspect of the Oscars judging, right? In years past, judges could cast a vote for Best Picture, for example, without having actually seen the film or seen all of the films. So basically this, now they're making the new rule. He said this new rule, which outlines the new rule, doesn't give any indication how a voter might prove that they've seen all the films or whether they'll even be asked to prove it. But supposedly,
Oh, they'll figure out a way.
yeah,
We're in
they're
a
gonna have to, yeah,
technological age. They'll find a way,
yeah,
because you
yeah,
won't be, if it's an what do you call that, Wes? Watermarked.
yeah,
If it's a
yeah,
watermarked CD or DVD, or maybe they'll make you watch it on maybe. Oh,
yeah,
that's a
uh,
solution. Make the
yeah.
Academy create a streaming website
Streaming
that's
site, yeah.
specifically for
And
Academy
you have to
members.
log in with your Academy
Exactly.
number, and that's how
Exactly.
you prove that you watched the film. You have to watch it on that site, and you put in your Academy number, and then it can tick off the ones that you watched. So, like some sort of a check off system.
No, the
That
system will do it out automatically.
Yeah, so I
All they
said like
gotta
a
do,
check off system where it does it automatically. All you gotta do is just watch it, and
yeah,
it
and
shows
then
that you
once
watched
they
it.
watch it, all they gotta do is, once it start getting close to award season, like maybe say September, because I know there's a lot of movies that come out between September and December. So just to say like September, by September, there should be a certain amount of movies, and it should be given to people.
Yeah,
It should be tasked that by this date and this date you need to
yeah,
watch this film, or your vote doesn't get counted. You get counted
yeah,
as a non vote, or
yeah,
you or that,
Nah,
or
nah. Because what if you're
no.
away? What if you're what? Yeah, what if you're away shooting the movie? You ain't got time to sit there and
So then you
theoretically
don't vote.
watch.
Don't vote. If you didn't see the
But that,
movie, how you gonna vote on it?
No. I didn't. No, I said what Kevin said that like by this particular date, if you're actively filming a movie, you don't have time to sit there and dedicate a couple of hours to a movie. I mean, you may, I don't, you probably may not. I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, they
But
already have deadlines though. That is in place. You have a certain amount of time to watch.
yeah, the deadline is
Have
December
all the
31st.
movies watched.
December 31st is the deadline. If I'm not mistaken, that's what they said. They gotta have it. It has to be shown at least to a theater, either in LA or New York by December 31st to be considered for Oscar consideration.
Yeah. And I mean, and the Academy members do have deadlines too to cast their votes. So, I mean, you got to work out a system that, because right now it's like, come on, man, like
I'd say the best
I
system is
can't
the streaming
believe
system.
that, and every single one of us that's looking at this article is like, this is crazy. I thought this was like the Onion or something. Like, I didn't think this was a real.
You think it was real
article? I was like, nah, this can't be real. But this is from Film Magazine. This is from like Film Magazine article or something like that. So anyway, y'all go out and see Lovecraft Country. Y'all go out and see Sinners. Watch Lovecraft Country as well. Take that, kind of get yourself into that gear. And plus, you get to see Wumi Musaku, who was in Lovecraft Country. You get to see more work of hers. And, if you really want to see her and you want to see more of her, then turn on Loki. She's in that too. Or Deadpool and Wolverine, but she's not in that a lot. But y'all check that out, man, and we'll get back at y'all. We'll talk about let's next show or the show after. Let's get back and bring our stunt guys back on, man, because finally the Oscars are going to include the stunt category, but they're not doing it until like 2027 or something like that, or 2028. I don't know. They're not doing it for a few years, but it's finally passed the vote where they will have a stunt category. I forgot what they call it. It's some sort of achievement in stunts. I think it's only going to be one category. Covering, I guess, everything. Maybe like stunt ensemble, I don't know. But they finally are putting it in. So I'd like to get some of our stunt people back in here, our stunt, friends of the show, and get their feeling on it, and go from there. We'll do other things. But y'all, thanks for y'all. Shout out to everybody in the chat room came through. We appreciate y'all. Everybody over at IG, appreciate y'all. We're signing off with you guys now over there. And of course, back here, you guys, don't ever forget about us. You can love us, you can hate us. It's all good. Don't forget about us. Peace.
Don't you forget about me.